Hello everyone, this is Marla Hatsune. I'm taking a little break from the animations and vocal recording, and I'm going to read a creepypasta that I really like. Pokemon Lost Silver. It's one of my favorite creepypastas, so I thought, let's read it. Let's kill some time and read it. Alrighty, here we go. You see, I am a simple college student living alone in an apartment. I was very enthusiastic about the release of Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver here in the States. I have purposely locked myself out of all media on the internet aside for school purposes. That means no 4chan, no V, no Bulbapedia, etc. As I was busy with school year being poor at the time, I wasn't able to buy Soul Silver on its launch date. After my school year ended, I ordered Soul Silver on Amazon. However, it would take a week to arrive. I decided during that time I would replay my Crystal version on the Game Boy Color. However, I realized that long ago my mom threw it away because I told her the save went dead, and I was very upset about it then. She also threw away my Silver version, so all I have is my Game Boy Color. As such, I set out to GameStop and buy a used Silver version, as it's the only Pokemon game left that they have for the Game Boy Color. $10. Fairly cheap. I went home and started up for a nostalgia trip. However, that's where things started getting bizarre, and most likely the reason why you read this. The Game Freak logo started up as normal, but it just froze there. I thought the cart was just aired or something, so I turned it off and on. The same thing happened. I tried pressing A and start over and over and all the buttons. Eventually, the logo vanished and there was a black screen for about 5 seconds. Suddenly, rather than going to the usual menu screen, I was already in the game in a previous save file. Which was odd, as I was expecting all these carts to have been wiped by the poor battery. Either way, I wasn't complaining, as I would just have chosen the continue option to see what the previous guy did anyways. First off, I checked his trainer information. His name was just ... He didn't have much originality. I checked his profile and apparently had 999 hours, pretty much maxed out hours into the game, with all 16 badges. That's a big number. $999,999 Poké Dollars, and all 251 Pokemon on the Pokédex. Seeing as he apparently had Mew and Celebi logged also, I'm guessing he either used a Game Genie or was really hardcore Pokemon player back then. I checked his Pokemon to see what badass team he had. To my surprise, I saw 5 unknowns and a 6 Pokemon named Hurry. I'm thinking it just was some cruel joke by the person who played the game, but I decided to check the profiles of those Pokemon anyways. As I expected, they were different letters in the unknown, all level 5. I was a bit shaky with my unknown alphabet at the time, but identified the word to be spelled out to be leave. As for the 6 Pokemon, it turned out to be a Cyndaquil. Mind you, this was before they were individualized Pokemon icons. The Cyndaquil looked normal, but it was a level 5 and only 1 HP left with 2 attacks, Leer and Flash. I don't know why they named him Hurry, but at the time I just disregarded it. The most eerie thing was that, despite my volume being at max, none of the Pokemon he had said were just usual cries, just pure silence. Having enough of the team, I closed it. I was parked at what appears to be a room inside Bellsprout Tower. However, for some reason, there were no NPCs around. Even more eerie was that the pillar in the middle didn't move at all, as if just leaning on its side. There was no music at all, and there was no exit or ladder. At least I thought there wasn't. I walked around for a few minutes, but I can't seem to find a way out. This was certainly not a room I've seen in the Bellsprout Tower before. I tried checking my items for an escape rope, but the bag was completely empty. There wasn't any wild Pokemon either. Finally, I managed to find a ladder, which turned out to be behind the pillar. The screen turned black and the music finally started playing. I had a sudden chill, as I recognized the melody I heard to be the theme you hear when you listen to the radio at the Alpha runs where the unknown are at. I immediately realized that it wasn't a loading transition, but rather I was in a dark room and would need flash. Before I took care of that, though, I immediately checked my Pokegear to change the radio to something more pleasant, but it turns out there was no radio card, or even a phone or time cards. There was only a map card, which Gold ... from earlier, and I would call him Gold from now on. was just walking in midst of black. I recall that Cyndaquil has flash, so I turned off my Poké Gear and made Cyndaquil use flash. I didn't see any message saying hurry has used flash or anything like that. The room just became lit, just like that. And I soon regretted it. The room was a chilling blood red with a linear gray path heading south. The ladder I used to go up or down was not there at all. I had no choice but to head south. The screen got darker every 20 steps I made, until I finally made it to the end, which appears to be a sign. I read the sign, which said, "Turn back now." Suddenly, I was asked to answer yes or no, but there was no question asked. I chose yes, as I do not know what it was asking, and the screen went black again, making a ladder climb sound. The unknown radio music stopped, and in a few seconds was replaced by not as creepy Poké Flute radio music. I was in another dark room, but I held my breath and used flash again. Suddenly, it is said that Hurry has fainted! Which is odd, since I recall that there were no status conditions like poison on him, and I clearly wasn't in battle. I checked my Pokemon quickly, and suddenly he's no longer in my party. In fact, after a bit of investigating, none of my Pokemon are there, but instead all replaced with level 10 unknown. I did the same thing as before and spelled out the unknown. My then team of unknown spelled he died. Either way, after that creepy change, the room was lit to reveal myself in a very small room that appears to be only 4 squares big. The walls on that room were gray bricks, as if I was inside something that was hollowed out. Outside that room appears to be a bunch of graves similar to the ones in the Pokemon Red and Blue. I walked around that small room and pressed A, but nothing happened. I've already concluded that this is clearly a hack game, and some sadistic fuck sold it to GameStop. However, my curiosity kept me going. I checked the I checked the trainer profile of ... again, and only to find that the sprite of Gold was missing his arms. He also seemed to appear less smug, but rather seemed more sad and empty in a way that I do not know how to describe. For some reason, it also now said that he has 24 badges, which was clearly impossible. After a few minutes of aimless wandering, the character suddenly spun into the escape rope spinning animation. Instead of flying up, though, my character spun downwards slowly, as if sinking. After that screen, the music stopped. After finally landing, the overworld sprite of Gold is colored differently now. Instead of the usual red color he dons, he appears completely white now, including his skin. It's as if he came straight from the colorless Game Boy games placed into a colored background of the Game Boy Color. I checked his profile, and now he's as white as his overworld sprite. He's lost his legs and has what appears to be bloody tears from his eyes. It also says now he has 32 badges, which now starts to disturb me as his change of number seems to represent something important. I also checked my Pokemon, which this time contains 5 unknowns, and a level 100 Celebi without a nickname. The unknown are this time level 15 and spelled out dying. I checked the Celebi's profile. It was a shiny Celebi, except it was only half of the sprite. 1 leg, 1 arm, 1 eye. It only had 1 attack. Perish Song. The area I was in itself was the Sprout Tower with the immobile pillar as before, except everything is apparently red now. I walked north for what felt like forever. Eventually, I finally encountered some generic men and women in NPC. They were all lined up to the side, just facing the long, slantish pillar in the middle. They were also white, and nothing happens when I try to speak to them. I kept on going north until eventually the pillar finally appears chopped off, with a transparent red in that spot. I went up to red without even pressing A, and I was suddenly engaged and finally in a battle. The music starts again, which sounds like the unknown radio music again, but played backwards. Gold's battle back sprite matches his front one with the bloody eyes, white skin, and the lack of arms, while Red sprite was the same one as before as GSSC, except transparent. Text simply said, "Wants to battle," as if he has no name, and both of us only have 1 Pokemon each, which is weird because, as I swore, I had 6 with the unknowns. My shiny Celebi came out conveniently with the half sprite for the back sprite also. The shiny noise and animation was different, as the sounds made it sound like multiple screech attacks used consecutively. Red sent on a seemingly normal male Pikachu, except he was a level 255 and his sprite seemed sad and had tears in his eyes. Rather than the usual fight item Pokemon run menu, I was only given the option to use attacks. Since Celebi only has one, I chose it. Naturally, since Pikachu was level 255, he went first. Pikachu used Curse! Lowering his speed and increasing his other stats. I'm not even sure if Pikachus can use yours. Celebi used Perish Song! In 3 turns, both Pokemon KO'd. Not like I have a choice. At this point, it didn't even go back to the fight menu. The battle just continued without me. Also note that there were no animations at all for some reason. Pikachu used Flail, which didn't do much damage despite his level. It boosted his health as well, maxed. Celebi used Perish Song. Nothing happens as it was already used. Pikachu used Frustration, which did a shit ton of damage, knocking Celebi down to less than 10 HP. Celebi used Pain Split, which surprised me as Celebi didn't even have that attack in the first place. Now Celebi and Pikachu have about 150 HP. Pikachu used Mean Luck. Not like that did anything. As expected, due to the effects of Parashon, my Celebi fainted. Except in the text it said, Celebi has died! And instead of the ordinary drop from the screen animation, the Celebi backsprite just vanished. For some reason, Pikachu was still up even with the Parashon. It didn't count as my loss. Pikachu used one more different attack beyond the 5 attack limit. Pikachu used Destiny Bond! Afterwards, it said, Pikachu has died with a slow fade-out animation. Apparently, I was the winner, and the transparent red sprite showed up and just said, ... crap load of dots. At this point, I just freaked out, as that transparent red sprite was suddenly beheaded, leaving nothing but his transparent body. The battle then ended at that point, and faded out along with the music. I'm back in the overworld with another change in the gold sprite. He was now as transparent as Red's overworld sprite. I quickly checked Gold's profile, where this time the only thing remains of him was his head, with the transparent skin. The head was zoomed in a bit, showing a black void in his eyes. Now stated he has 40 badges. Then I backed out and checked my Pokemon. They're all level 20 Shiny Unknown, which spelled out Red, no more. I was at what now known to be the next to the end. There was apparently no music playing, but for some reason it still felt like something was there that could be heard. I was back in my room in New Barktown. Maybe finally I get to play this game properly, but who am I kidding? I knew that sadistic fuck must have done something. I walked around my room to interact with things, as I'm a bit afraid to go down the stairs to see what was awaiting me down there. Note, I said walked, as while the background was moving, Gold was not moving his transparent limbs at all while doing so, just floating like ghosts after seeing Diamond and Pearl. As expected, the radio, computer, and TV did not work, so I had no choice but to go down the stairs. I ended up in the same lower level of my house. Everything appears normal, except Mom isn't home. After failing to interact with anything in this room, I decided to go outside. To my surprise, the door leading outside itself didn't work, and instead I just walked straight into the void. I continued moving south to see what the fuck was going on. My house vanishes as I head south in the void. It was creepy when I entered the void. The outline of Gold's transparent sprite turned white to contrast with the pitch black. Eventually, I reached the white area and Gold's sprite turned black and transparent again. I continued south thinking of stopping it all. After a long trek south, I finally encountered something. It was Gold's regular sprite. I talked to it, and he said, goodbye forever. Notably with a space in between the forever and the dots. And vanished. As that happened, it said, !! use Nightmare. Which, at that point, I cannot deny that being possible. Gold did another escape rope animation, spinning slowly downwards like before. I'm now back into that small hollowed-out room surrounded by graves earlier. Or at least to say, I was back there, as there's no sprite anymore. I tried to walk around, but nothing moved, not even a wall bumping noise. I checked my trainer profile with absolutely no Gold sprite left. It said I had 0 badges, and all the pictures of the Johto gym leaders at the bottom were replaced with skulls. I checked my Pokemon, which were all level 25 unknown. As expected, it spelled out a phrase that I dared not to read. I'm dead. As soon as I went back to the overworld, the room supposedly was then covered with the same blocks as the walls. I then figured out what exactly that room was when the final text was said. Rest in peace. That room was a big grave, surrounded by other graves. Gold has already been dead. He died presumably a few years after he defeated Red. He was a young trainer who, despite his efforts in collecting so many badges and attempts at becoming a Pokemon Master, was still unable to avoid the inevitable fate of death, and his efforts were eventually forgotten by the next generation. I was unable to escape from that text no matter what I pressed. I tried resetting the game, and the same thing happened, which then finally decided to give up on that horrible nightmare. After that experience, I will never look at the gimmick unknown the same way again. They say that only the first generation have folk tales and legends, but the second generation have shown me how unpleasant the truth can be. I eventually enjoyed Soul Silver immensely, but I still can't unthink what that rigged game has told me. Well, I've heard it before, but I've never heard the full version. This is actually my first time reading it. It's really creepy, man. Sorry about my horrible, if I sounded like I messed up a lot, which I did. It's kind of hard converting some of the words or phrases in there because it's like ... or question mark. So I kind of did what I could. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you didn't get creeped out too much. I'm not exactly creeped out because it's more cool than creepy to me. And hope you enjoy the rest of your day or evening or whatever time of the day it is that you're watching this. And I'm out.